this class, we're going to talk about how to locate job opportunities. And what we mean by that is the tools and tips and techniques that you would use to find those opportunities that excite you. Because it's not just about job boards and it's not just about networking. It's really about an approach that encompasses all of it. And we're going to talk about that in this class. So let me walk you through the agenda of what this class will cover. First, we're going to talk about our approach and a bit of our philosophies on how you go to market and how you think about it. Then we're going to talk about the three main ways that you would approach trying to find these incredible opportunities is a people approach, a company approach, and a job approach. And actually, it's even more like tracks because, again, you're doing all of them. There are some that tend to be more effective, but you really need to do all of them to really kind of like shake the trees and see all the opportunities that are out there. So we're going to talk about that. And then last, we're going to talk about the job tracker and the tools that you would use to make sure you're tracking all these opportunities because, like I like to say, what gets measured gets managed. So the more organized you can be about your search and all these opportunities that you're out there pursuing, the better that you'll be able to manage it all and bring the process to an end. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the class. In this section, we're going to talk about Teal's approach to looking for career opportunities and how we think about it. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So first is the mindset. Job searching and looking for opportunities, whether it be within your company or externally, you got to get into this mindset of you are a salesperson and your product is you. Right? Some of us have a hard time with self-advocacy and like really promoting ourselves. But when we think about the products that we really love and we tell everybody about them, it's because we're passionate about it. And you've got to be that same way about yourself. You got to say, I'm a product, I'm taking it to market, and I got to go find customers for it. And so this is almost something we want you to repeat to yourself. You are a salesperson and your product is you. A big part of the process and unlocking opportunities is convincing others that you're the right person, especially if you're trying to stretch and take a position that you haven't done before. Well, you're going to have to really make the case for it. So think about it. You're a salesperson and your product is you. Your task is to attract and find customers, right? Again, if you're a product, who wants to buy it? Employers. Right? Companies, they're your customer. They need to want your services. Another framing is you are a company of one. You are the CEO of that company. You got to go get customers, which you're going to ultimately deliver services to and get money from. So how do you attract and find these customers? And so we're going to talk about the different strategies by which you would do that. And it falls into kind of two buckets, right? There's inbound, when opportunities come to you, and if you've heard of inbound marketing before, right, this is when you put out a brand and messaging to the world and it brings people to you because they want to work with you and they like what you're putting out there. And then the other is outbound. You go find the opportunities and you pursue them and you create them. And there is no better or worse here. Again, we're going to really talk about an and strategy here, and you want to be doing both. You want to be building that brand, putting that narrative out there so opportunities start to come to you. The good thing about that is if you build that brand, like we talk about in the creating your personal brand class or your professional brand, that will build forever. You'll build that identity and that'll pay off in the long term. The outbound is where you can get very strategic and almost like surgical about the opportunities that you want and you go and pursue them. So again, you want to do both of these, the inbound and outbound. Then there's the outbound kind of three buckets in which you would do it. And again, it's an and strategy. You might think that one is better than another, but we really recommend that you're going to do all of these. You're going to pursue opportunities by connecting with people, and we're going to go deep into these in each of the different sections of the class. But what does your network have to uncover? Then there's the companies. Actually researching those companies that you're really excited about, align with your personal mission and values, and you'd love to be a part of. And then jobs. What are those job opportunities? And this is where a lot of people go. You go to job boards and you're looking at the jobs themselves. But any of these can work because sometimes you'll connect with a person and say, hey, we actually don't have a role, but I know you and I'd love to work with you. Or a company that you approach and you really sort of convince them on your passion for their mission and say, we'll create a role for you. Or you see the job and you go connect with the person or you connect with the company. So it's really about all three at the same time, but we're going to talk about each of them in detail in the following sections of this class. In this section, we're going to talk about people and how you leverage your network and networking to uncover job opportunities. So, hands down, networking is by far the most effective way to land a job. Most people land a job through some kind of introduction or referral. There's some stats here you can read through, but about 50% of people find a job through a reference or through a friend and through networking. And there's a lot of statistics out there that show when you get a referral, you kind of go to the top of the pile. So it's the most effective in terms of sort of certainty of success. It takes a lot of work. It's not obvious. And a lot of the work is on you. You need to go out there. You need to do that digging and mining your network. But you can't have an effective strategy without pursuing this and it being part of your process. If you do just job boards, it's going to take a lot of applications. And so your quality of effort will go much higher if you focus on your networking. Again, you got to do all three, but we want to talk about it here. One thing that people get really hung up on with leveraging their network is that they think that it's only the people that they know from like 1 degree. But it's actually the weak ties and the loose ties that the one that get you the most results. And it's not just like people think like, oh, my friends aren't hiring or the people I know aren't hiring. But that might not be true. And second of all, they might know someone who knows someone. Because a lot of people go to their network to hire and find opportunities. Say, do you know a person or do you know someone that has this experience? So it's not necessarily that they directly will have an opportunity for you. It might be that they know someone who knows someone that has an opportunity. And that is like social capital. And that is career collateral that we have by making introductions. So think about your network and your extended network, those 2nd and 3rd degree connections. And then think about places that you could do it. You've got the Teal community, you've got places like LinkedIn, all the various social networks. Twitter's becoming incredibly effective for landing career opportunities. So think about those places where you can connect with people and have those discussions and get those introductions. Now, how you're going to go about doing that. You want to mine all your contacts. Think about all the places that you have contact information for people, and you're going to want to be looking for ways to find who works where and who knows who. So think about all the people you know, close extended family, that cousin you haven't talked to in months, someone you went to college with. Think about all those contacts. So friends, acquaintances, ex-colleagues, professors, teachers, classmates, fellow Teal members. Right? That's the power of this community, is people helping each other. So think about all those contacts you have and start to think about who might be working where and who could you reach out to. Then start to look for your emails, like through your address book, through your email. Sometimes Gmail will keep track of everyone you've ever emailed. Look through your phone, your LinkedIn, dust off that Facebook account. Look at your Twitter. Look on the Teal Slack community or in the Teal directory in Career Commons, or the Teal directory in the Career Council. Really look to your network and be as thorough as you can and cast a wide net, because you never know who's going to be able to help you. Another channel that you have right within Teal is the functional channels within Slack. And these are driven by like occupational categories. And so if you want to look within there, whether it's for an informational interview or looking for an introduction, you can look right within the Slack community. And there's hundreds of people in each of these channels that are willing to help, that have been looking for opportunities as well, and can be super empathetic about it. And if there's a channel that doesn't exist yet for a function you're excited about, let us know and we can probably make it for you. Or we could try to facilitate an introduction directly through the network. There's also some really, really great tools out there. One that we've seen a ton of success within the community is Lunch Club. It's a fairly new startup, a couple years old, but they do a really good job of matching people and facilitating the connection. And we've actually got a great code that'll connect you with other Teal members, but we highly recommend that you use it. A lot of members have come to Teal from references from Lunch Club. So again, we highly recommend that you check it out. Very effective. It's free. You earn points as you do more meetings with people. Lots of great connections. So check that out. And then look for ways to connect with people. And one of the best ways to do that is through informational interviews. a lot of people are very willing to take it, right? This isn't an interview where you want an explicit thing. You want to learn. And you got to come ready to learn. And this might be with strangers, with people you've never met before, but they're very willing to engage and talk about their career path, how they got there, the company. So informational interviews are going to be one of your biggest tools to landing that career growth opportunity that you're looking for. And an informational interview, if you've never heard of the term before, it's a meeting with a person to learn about an occupation, function, industry, or career path. And by function, we mean like, a discipline like design, marketing, a particular title or occupation, or an industry. I want to learn about hospitality or retail. And you can engage with people. And if you engage with them honestly and empathetically and with a genuine curiosity, you'd be surprised how many people will say yes. I make it a point to say yes to them all the time. I get cold emails through LinkedIn, whether it's a student or someone growing, and I always try to say yes. I want to try to help, and I want to teach people. And they oftentimes have a genuine curiosity. How'd you make a transition from this industry to this industry? How'd you get, what was it like to be an executive at an early age? Like those things are things that I want to be able to share, and you'd be surprised how many people are willing to do that as well. So informational interviews are an incredibly powerful tool to growing your career. And ways to think about how to identify people for an informational interview. So create a list of occupations and functions or industries that you're interested in. Start to search for them on LinkedIn. See if there's common connections you have. Did you go to the same school? Do you have people in contact, in common in your contacts? And then you want to craft a very specific message. To help you out, we've got templates. They're on the Teal platform in the tools. I'll just pop these open real quick. You'll find them by going over to the Teal platform and going over to our tools. And you search for informational interview guide. And it'll bring up this page and you'll just say, go to tool. We've got lots of things that are in like a document format, so you can very easily copy and paste it. And so in here, you've got a couple different email templates that you can use. You might want to change them and tweak them and put them into your own voice. But we've got the interview request, then the follow-up, and then there's some things in here that you can think about, the kinds of questions you want to ask about the company or their current job. So this is a great guide and a tool to help you think about informational interviews and how to request them, follow up, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. So let's pop back over to the presentation. Again, there's templates. Here's an example of it, right there in that guide. We highly recommend that you use them. Try to remove these things that would block you from doing it. Tweak it, put it in your voice, and start to send them out. And the way that you can frame the discussion is kind of in these three categories. Learn about the person and their career path. How did they choose to be in that industry? You can learn about the company or function. I'm really excited about working at that company. I'd love to learn more about it. I've always looked up to it. How'd you get in? Right? Genuine curiosity. Or other career questions. Have they career transitioned? Is there someone else that they could speak to? And so these informational interviews are a really powerful way to build your network, connect with people, and eventually, potentially leverage them for an introduction or a referral straight into the company. But for the informational interview, I cannot stress enough that you come with a genuine curiosity to learn. Do not come with an agenda of what you want that people can tell. They will feel like it's transactional, and you will be doing career damage rather than career gain. So here's some general best practices for informational interview. Keep them to 20 minutes. Don't go too long. You can, now it's easier than ever to do it via Zoom. If you're in an area where people are willing to have a meeting and grab a coffee, right now in 2020 and 2021, that's going to be a little less so. But people are very willing to do it on a Zoom. Again, listen more than talk. Come prepared to listen, have your questions, thank them, and follow up. Okay? Remember to follow up. And lastly, do not ask for a job. Do not make it transactional. Make it about them. Make it about how much you want to learn from them, how much you admire their career, how much you appreciate what they've done, and how you want to learn. All right, follow up. Again, I can't say this enough times. Follow up, and not only follow up right after the meeting, but stay in touch. Right? If you guys talk about where you're going to take your career, where you want to be in 3 months, people like to know that their time and energy went towards doing something good and helping somebody grow. So now you can maintain this relationship. This person could eventually be a mentor or a sponsor within a company. So follow up, send a thank you, ideally send something back of value. If you talked about an article or something, send them something. You don't have to send a gift, but add value with information. And then in 3 to 6 months, send another follow-up. Hey, this is where I've decided. Thanks so much. This is the impact you've had on me. People feel really good about that, and that's a great way to build that network and that career collateral. All right, so stay in touch. Like I said, be mindful of it. Put yourself on a schedule. Follow up every 3 months, every 6 months, every 9 months, and just give a person an update of where you're going on your career. If you connect, obviously, if there's no synergies there, then send a thank you. But if this is someone you want to build a relationship with, and they're probably further in their career than you are, and you can learn from them. So we highly encourage you to think about how you're going to maintain those relationships and build those long-lasting connections that will pay off in your career many times over. So with that, we'll jump to the next section. In this section, we're going to talk about companies, identifying companies that you're really excited about so you can start to track down either the people or the jobs that will create opportunities for you. So first, let's talk about company sizes. It's, if you're in sales or marketing, you want to segment your customer. You want to understand how do they buy, what's the internal process. So let's think about companies as we start to approach them. And this is going to inform what their hiring process might be like, who you need to reach out to. So we've put these in these kind of categories that we think make sense. You can bucket them however you want or just use this, but what we would call a small business or a small company, 1 to 10 people. You're probably talking to the owner directly, right? That's who's going to make the hiring decisions. That's who's going to be able to decide whether to open a role or not. So that's probably who you're going to be talking to. Once you're in a company that's like up to 250 people, there's probably going to be layers, right? And it actually happens around like 10 people, founders, CEOs, like pretty busy, teams are growing, and they're empowered to hire. So the hiring manager, they may have recruiters. Oftentimes companies at those sizes, their first HR hires are recruiting and in the talent team. Once companies start to be bigger, between that 250, 1,000 range, they've probably built out a hiring infrastructure. And so you're probably going to talk to a recruiter first. And the recruiter is probably owning the full process. Then when companies get really big, like 1,000 to 10,000, the recruiting process actually probably has multiple people in it. They probably have sourcers who are out there looking for talent or doing that initial screening. And then you go to a recruiter or a hiring manager, and then eventually some approver. And then when the company's really big, they most likely have a sourcer who is going to be your first contact. And they are doing that initial screening, sourcing, and then they will either, pass you off to a more established recruiter, or they will take you directly to the hiring manager. But many, many times you'll be talking to a sourcer. All right, so that's how we think about the company sizing. And most important here is, who are you going to be talking to on that first meeting if you were to go direct? Some other attributes of companies to think about as you're identifying the companies you want to be at and the kind of environment you're excited about is, again, size. We talked about that. Stage and age, but whether that be like a funding stage or a maturity stage, if they've got product market fit, or age, right? They've been around for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Those are things to know. A company could be 10 people and have been around for 50 years. So that means they're probably going to be, pretty consistent in the way that they do things. But they could also be, still super small. So that's why we want you to think about all these different dimensions. If it's in the startup space, how is it funded? Is it, a bootstrap business? Have they raised venture capital? Do they have a lot of debt? Those things are going to have impact, and you're going to want to think about that. Obviously, mission and values of the company. Do they align with what you want to do? Products and services. What do they sell? Do they sell stuff that you're excited about? Are you selling a product, or are you selling a service? Again, those are things to think about. And then geography. Where are their headquarters? Or do they have local offices? Again, now with the world being the way it is, we can be remote and much easier, and there's a higher connection to it. But you want to be mindful of where is the concentration of the people, and where do most people work. And one of the ways to research companies is a great site called Crunchbase. It's a database. A lot of these platforms are for investors, but this is kind of what you want to do when you're looking in this company approach. You want to put on your investor hat. If I was an investor, where would I find these really great companies? Because companies are the kind of nutrients in soil for your career growth. If a company is growing, there's a high likelihood that you can grow. If a company's shrinking, it's going to be hard for you to grow. And if a company is just sort of, not moving much, it's also going to be hard for you to grow. So go to these places where people are doing research for these amazing companies, right? Which ones just recently closed funding? That means you're probably going to hire a bunch. Which ones just released an incredible product? Which ones were in the press? And these investor platforms are a great way to do that because they're going to give you great metrics on their funding, their revenue growth, the org chart. So we highly recommend that you use sites like this. Another great resource is LinkedIn. All the companies have company pages. You can search companies directly, not as tailored to the filtering like some of these investor sites, filtering by seed, last funding round. But you can on LinkedIn filter by company size, number of employees, number of offices, and those could be a good way to find the kind of companies that you want to be at. Other platforms that you can look at, I already mentioned Crunchbase because it's great, but AngelList, CB Insights is really wonderful. Fortune's got for the more enterprise companies, they've got a great data set. PitchBook, Glassdoor, Built-in, Idealist is great for those looking to work in government and nonprofit. So they've got databases of companies with all the different kinds of attributes, which will enable you to filter it down to the places that you're excited about. In this section, we're going to talk about how to use the Teal job tracker. And it could be one of the most powerful and efficient tools that you use in managing all the opportunities that you're excited about. So with that, let's jump in. The Teal job tracker comes with two major components. There is a Google Chrome extension, and right now it only works on Chrome. We're looking to add it to Firefox and Safari in the not too distant future, but it's really focused on Chrome. And then there's the tracker itself. You can use the tracker without Chrome, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But it just makes things a whole lot easier. So even just for your job search, we recommend that you install Chrome. And then, if you don't like it as a browser, you can ditch it for other things. But for this process, it really should save you a ton of time. So let's go ahead and jump over and check it out. So I want to walk you through how to find it if you come just straight to the platform. And when you're in the Teal platform, we have the little picker here up at the top. And if you click that, it shows some of the core apps that we have. And there you'll find Job Tracker. If you click that, it'll take you over to the tracker. And here, Tina Miller, our resident Teal member, has already bookmarked a bunch of jobs. And we've tried to make it feel as much like a spreadsheet as possible, right? Because a lot of people make a spreadsheet to track all their opportunities. The great thing about a spreadsheet is you have, a ton of flexibility. The not so great thing about a spreadsheet is it doesn't really allow you to make it robust with data and do a lot of the tracking and extensibility. So here I've got Tina Miller's job tracker. It's got a ton of different jobs saved in it and a whole bunch of different things that we use, for testing. But let me go ahead and show you how it works. All right, so you set up your job tracker. And you can add a job by just clicking Add Job, and you can type in the title, put in the company and information, where's the location, and you can do that, and it works relatively quickly. But really the fast way to do it is with the Chrome extension. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to pop open another tab here, and I do so many of these searches for jobs. I'll just go ahead and search on LinkedIn for a marketing job. And so here you can see a bunch of different marketing jobs, and this is one at Otis. So let's go ahead and bookmark that. And there we go. Pulls in product marketing lead, Otis, job description, and we'll save the job. And I'll keep job searching. Let me see which other ones I like here. Job at Spotify, changes all the data pulls in, and I'll save the job. And let's do one more. Job at Apple. And so we'll keep job searching. There it is. Save the job. All right, and now I want to see that job back at within the platform. So let's just go ahead and view now. And that's going to take me over back to the tracker, and it's going to load that job. And so here you can see everything got filled out. The title, the company, the location, and some of this is for me to fill out. As a premium member, you get access to this keyword analysis that comes automatically. If for some reason you don't keep your premium membership, it'll keep the JD. It just won't automatically highlight the keywords for you. But that's a huge time saver eventually when you start to apply for these and you want to call out those keywords in your resume. So it does that for you automatically as a premium feature. But now you can start to track the status of this job. You can enter any kind of notes that you might have, people you might know, start to think about those contacts that you have there, who might that can help you get in. And to do that, you can use the contacts feature. You can start to add those contacts to these opportunities. This is a person I know, and that's a way to track it. And then a link to the original job posting is here as well. And then you can go back to navigating as a table view. You can see all the jobs you've bookmarked. You can add the date that you applied, when you intend to follow up. This is that Otis job. I'm really excited about that company. Let me go ahead and give it a high rating. Then I can sort by my excitement, all the jobs that I'm pretty stoked for. You can group them by phase. So let's look by status. There's all the ones I'm preparing, all the ones I applied for. You can also very quickly filter them by clicking on the chevrons up here. So show me all the jobs that I'm actively interviewing for, which is the one that I've got in the negotiation phase. Or I can click that. And then to manage my process, okay, this one I really like at Casper, and I got my application in. And so there we go. It moves it over in my process. And so you can really use this tool to manage your whole job search process. And because now you can very quickly look at them all in the same format, skim the JD. Okay, let me jump to the next one and keep jumping. And then if you like it, move it on in your process or just archive it and say, you know what, I'm going to archive that one. I'm not interested in it. But so we highly recommend that you go bookmark a ton of jobs, all the ones you're excited about. Come in and then start to rate the excitement and start to move them into the preparing so you can start to think about which ones you're going to apply to. But there's no limit in how many you can put in here, and it just makes it really easy. And this tool works on about 15 different job boards, and we're continually adding more. So if there's one that you want to use that's not on here, just let us know and we can add it. But we highly recommend that you use the job tracker. Get all this data in here, start to manage it, start to look at these companies, start to follow back, continue to check back in on them, and then track your process. And you can see, okay, I was supposed to follow up in a week. Set yourself goals, how many you apply for a week, how many interviews you'd like to be having a month, and this tool should help keep you accountable. With that, we'll jump over to the next section. In this section, we're going to talk about finding jobs and the approach that is job-centric, which is finding the job opportunities themselves. There are many, many places that you can find jobs. When companies are hiring and looking to fill roles, they broadcast it everywhere. And there's a reason that there's a trillion job boards. And so there are industry-specific job boards. There are industry publications that will usually bolt on a job board. There's all the social platforms where people say, hey, I'm hiring. There's the review sites like Glassdoor. There's professional organizations, which will oftentimes also publish jobs. Alumni networks will oftentimes publish jobs. So if I'm an alumni, I'll come and publish my job to the other alumni. There's the career pages on companies directly. And another one that we really love is investor websites. Highly recommend that you go to the websites of venture capitalists, and they will aggregate the jobs from their portfolio. There's a really great platform called Monday.vc that does that. And so many, many venture capitalists are publishing out the jobs. And one of the ways that they help their companies beyond providing capital is actually helping them hire. So highly recommend that you look at investors and the companies that they invested in as a great way to see which companies are hiring. Because also you can look at investors that have been very successful and that tend to pick winners. That can be also a great way to think about companies you want to work at. Some other job boards that we really like and that we think are super effective. I think one of the best by far is Google, because they aggregate all the aggregators. So I would highly recommend that you use Google's job search. Again, LinkedIn is really, really good. Glassdoor, say what you will, it does get, the feedback and people use it and a lot of companies are on there. AngelList is wonderful for startups. Lots of great job postings on there. And I actually don't even think they really charge companies. So a lot of companies really post their jobs. And then built in, it only works in a few geographies. I want to say it's 10 geographies, but it's also really, really good. And they have a lot of company data and there's plenty others. But these are ones that you can start with. And the thing is, they don't all have all the jobs. So part of your process is you got to pick those 4, 5, 6 job boards that you like. And you almost got to look at them on the regular, daily, every other day, because this is data that's changing. The job market's incredibly dynamic. Jobs go up, job goes down. And the other thing with jobs is that time is of the essence. If a job's been posted for 3 weeks, they probably got the bulk of the applicants in the first week, and so you're kind of at the bottom of the pile, and they've already started the interview process. So you really want to keep it fresh, and you want to be looking at these on a regular basis, and use some tools to make that process efficient, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Next is title. Unfortunately, there are no standard job titles, and companies, as a way to sort of stand out, change them, and they think about it differently. And the work is on you to think about all the different permutations of a job title, and kind of all the synonyms for a job title. And it's really important that you do this work and you kind of document all the different versions, because not every company is doing the same. And a lot of these job sites don't do that like matching for you. So think about all the various versions of a job title. We've built a little tool to just kind of make it a little bit easier. It's a simple little Google sheet. I'll walk you through how it works, and hopefully it saves you some time, but you can make a copy of it and hopefully get a little faster. So let's jump over to that. So let's jump over and I'll show you how to find it within the Teal platform. If you go over to the platform and search for Job Search Query Builder or just Query Builder in the tools, it'll bring you to this tool, and then you'll just click Go to Tool. All right, and what you've got here is just a very simple Google sheet. We'll eventually turn this into a more robust tool, but it's trying to very quickly and easily create all the different permutations for you. So let's say that I want to be a marketing manager. All right, so instead of product here in this same spreadsheet, you're going to click and say copy tool, which will make a version for you. And so let's go ahead and type marketing here. All right, that changed it for me here. And it gave me all these different versions: marketing manager, senior marketing director. And what it's done is it's created all the queries for the different job boards, for one job board. And we've got LinkedIn and Link Up, and we're going to add more, but you can also just see how we did it. It's a very simple, spreadsheet formula. But what you do is if you select and highlight them all and right click and do open links, it'll create a tab for each title for you. So we don't need that right now. So this one is Associate Marketing Manager. You see Capital One is at the top. And then I'll do this one, Senior Marketing Manager, different company at the top. That one happens to be a similar one, a different company at the top, different company at the top, right? And so you can see that by searching for those different queries, you will uncover more and more opportunities. So the way that tool works is you just put in the main function, it'll give you all the different derivations, and then it'll do the same for LinkedIn, and it'll do the same for this other tool called Link Up, and it'll just build those queries for you. So hopefully that saves you a little bit of time. You just kind of make this document, save it, open it every day, highlight, right click, open links, just quick and see, and then I'll show you a tool that we've got to help you quickly bookmark those jobs and save them. So let's hop back over to the presentation. So that's the Job Search Query Builder. We highly encourage you to use it. It should save you a bunch of time and make you a little more efficient with finding all those cool opportunities for yourself. All right, so with that, we'll jump into the next section and talk about the job tracker. Okay, so that's it for the locating opportunities class. And the main thing we want you to walk away with from this class is that there are these 3 main ways to look for opportunities, and you want to do all of them. You want to identify the people in your network that could potentially, expose you to opportunities or connect you with people. You want to identify those companies that you're excited about that will move your career forward and align with what you want to do, and you think that there's a lot of potential for your growth there. And then, of course, you want to look at the jobs themselves. Right, and it's some combination of all the 3. That's how you will land the jobs that really excite you and move your career forward and are those dream jobs. It's not just applying online. It's not just networking. It's not just targeting those companies. It's at the intersection of all 3 of those. And if you use the tools and use the process, you should be able to find those exciting opportunities that move your career forward and get you growing in the way that you're excited about. All right, so with that, we'll wrap up the class, and thanks for joining.